Okay, my Dharma friend, how are you? It's 9:40 almost, 9:40 Vancouver time. So we're gonna continue the study of the Sutra of Perfect Enlightenment. We finished at page 51, so we'll start 52. Actually, we end at let's a little bit review of yesterday. It's page 51. As in each of the prior chapters, the bodhisattva in the fifth chapter, Maitreya, formulates his first question based on the conclusion of the immediately prior discussion. And since Buddha admonished Vajragarbha about the impossibility of escaping samsara while using sansaric views, no problem can be solved at the same level where the problem is arised. Einstein's saying. So you cannot escape samsara while using sansaric views. Very interesting. Maitreya asks, how do we sever the root of samsara? He also makes a more direct request for the teaching of expedient or gradual methods, an indication that we are now well into the midst of the teaching for those of middling capacities. He furthermore queries regarding the types of distinction that exist between the natures of sentient beings in terms of their capacity for enlightenment. Buddha answers the first question by attributing the empowerment of samsara to the forces of attached love and desire, which mutually enhance each other. In order to overcome samsara, it is necessary to sever those two, the attached love and desire. Actually, from my understanding experience, once we can be aware, then we have something like and dislike, the attached love, and we have desire to hold something we like, and also we have desire to get rid of something we don't like. Make sense? It's all the desires or the attached love comes from the contents of the awareness. But once you know all the contents of the awareness is illusory, then you have the power to really see into the nature of the phenomena world. Then you may have no attached love and desire. You won't have attached love and desire to the second moon, to something that is not real. That's the fundamental teaching of Buddha. Once you have the wisdom or the insight into the reality, then for all our attached love and desire will lose its power over you, the enlightened being. Anyway, in order to overcome samsara, it is necessary to sever those two. The Buddha goes on to distinguish the capacity of sentient beings into five natures, which are revision of the five natures theory of Yogacara. 唯识中, He distinguishes each of these five types of people in terms of their relative degree of freedom from the two hindrances, which are called in this text the phenomenal hindrance, 视障. So basically means we cannot see through the obstacles or the objects. We can see, we can feel, we can touch, we can smell, we can taste, we can think. We are entangled in all the objects from the six senses. We don't have the freedom to disentangle. That's called the phenomenal hindrance. And the second one is the noetic hindrance, 法障, which correspond to the hindrance of defilement. Sorry, the hindrance defilement is the phenomenal hindrance, and the second one is the noetic hindrance, or we call hindrance by the noun. So from experience, we gather some knowledge, some concept, some understanding of the reality, but none of them are complete and perfect. So we call it hindrance by the noun. It's the hindrance of the mental activities. We draw a conclusion through the previous experience. We have a limited understanding of an unlimited reality. We have very individualized understanding of the, how to say, cosmic intelligence. It's like a drop of the water in the ocean cannot understand the entire ocean that is beyond this drop of water. Every experience, every knowledge become individualized and localized and limited. That's what we call hindrance by the noun. He concludes this chapter by teaching the vow of the bodhisattva to save all sentient beings and explain that since, just one sec. He concludes his chapter by teaching the vow of the bodhisattva to save all sentient beings and explaining that since due to this vow, bodhisattva must enter the world of desire. It becomes necessary for them to devise expedient method to help people. The people, on the other hand, need to seek out teacher who is not himself enmeshed in desire. It's really hard to explain here. So it's like somebody really loves you. So the body who love you so much have to express his or her love through some action, through a word, through a behavior, through a hug, through an action. That's why bodhisattvas in the world must enter the world of desire. Becomes necessary for them to devise expedient methods to help people. As the discussion continues, the questions of the bodhisattva tend further toward distinctions in discriminated practice. In chapter 6, the bodhisattva, a pure wisdom, asks the question, what differences are there between that which is grasped and actualized by sentient beings? Bodhisattva and the world-honored Tathagata. The Buddha begins his answer by reminding the bodhisattva once again that since such things as distinctions in nature are based on illusory views to begin with, such a thing as valuation is ultimately impossible. You cannot solve a problem of samsara by using a sansaric view. No problem can be solved from the same perspective. The problem itself arises. Einstein. Very interesting. But Buddha then proceeds to distinguish between levels of attainment in terms of the degree to which practitioners are able to avoid being trapped by the traces of their own enlightenment experiences. These four levels are those of unenlightened worldling, lower level bodhisattva, high level bodhisattva, and Buddha. The overriding message of the chapter is that which is given in the passage that summarizes the four stages. What is most important is for the practitioner to learn the practice of non-abiding. Again, non-abiding, 无所住. So in Diamond Sutra, the sixth patriarch Huineng got enlightened by hearing or listening to the verse of the Diamond Sutra, 因以无所住而生其心. So our attention or our awareness should abide on nothing or abide to nothing. Or every objects are non-abidable, inabidable. 因以无所住而生其心. Like now, you're just doing the open monitoring. You just be aware. Just be. Nothing can disturb you. Nothing can distract you. You're fully aware. Your attention does not abide on anything, to anything, but you are fully aware. That's the meaning of non-abiding. You're living in a Dharma realm. You're living in a world of awareness. You're like a space, a vast space, where all the objects arise in this space, but you are not attached to any object in the space of awareness. Non-abiding. Not to be trapped in one's views or experiences, no matter how sublime they might be, no matter how beautiful the experience no matter how terrible the experience may be. The Bodhisattva of 7th chapter, Power and Virtue Unhindered, continues to question in the theme of gradations in practice, emphasizing the fact that he and his colleagues, while teaching, find that there are many different paths that one may follow to arrive at the same destination of enlightenment. It's just like every road leads to Rome. Buddha responds by teaching three types of meditation practice, which are defined by Sanskrit terms samatha, samapati, and dhyana, understood as teachings applicable to practitioners of varying inclinations. The practice of samatha is defined in a way very close to its original connotation of mental stabilization or calm abiding, referring to the practice of stilling the mind in single-minded concentration on an object. It's mostly understood like one-pointed concentration. You can have all your attention concentrated on one object. It may through well, the object may through what you see, what you hear, what you taste, what you smell, and what you touch. Mental stabilization, stealing, stealing the mind by concentration on an object from five sensory organs. The second one is samapati, normally just a general term for concentration or meditation and not so different in meaning from samatha. It is here accorded a special interpretation that is equivalent to the concept of vipassana, usually translated in English as observation or analytical meditation. This type of meditation is necessary for the bodhisattva practice of compassion since through this meditation he can perceive and properly utilize the phenomenal world of dependent origination. He also gives a special interpretation to the term dhyana, which is also normally used as a general term for meditation. Here refers to a non-dualistic practice that simultaneously subsumes and transcends the prior two forms of meditation. So I would say samatha is a technique to calm the mind by concentration on one object from five sensory organs, any one object of the five sensory organs. Like now, we are listening. If you are watching this video, then you have all your concentration on watching. By focus on something, you are stilling your mind. It's like a shield, a concentration shield that prevents all the other incoming thoughts. Because now you're engaging in doing one thing at one time. Actually, it's quite practical in everyday life. Highly focused, one single-minded concentration may help our productivity, proficiency. Then, based on this concentration, the second one is samapati. It's like observation or analytical meditation. Now, the conscious mind, the sixth mind, may help become assistant once the mind becomes calm to analyze the situation, analyze the experiences. Because now it's stable, it's concentrated, it's not distracted and disturbed anymore. And bodhisattva using this samapati to analyze the phenomenal world of dependent origination. Like it's like everyone's experience is interconnected to many factors. So this samapati may help the bodhisattva or practitioner to analyze the details of the situation, maybe like a sickness, to find out what is the main factor that can cause the patient have a sickness. Samapati helps to analyze the roots of the sickness. Then bodhisattva or practitioner of the meditation may have a solution to solve the problem. But here it more relies on dependent origination, the 12 dependent origination of everything. Let's go on. Buddha also gives a special interpretation to the term dhyana, which also normally used as a general term for meditation. So what I would like to say, dhyana is the combination of samatha and the samapati. It's a dynamic flow of the calming the mind, and analytical mind. So here, mind is calm, but also works. It's a dynamic loop of inner stillness and mental activity. Inner stillness or physical activity. So a total balance or beautiful balance between non-activity and activity. A beautiful harmony between the non-doing and the doing. Dhyana. Like now, actually, every moment could be a moment of dhyana. In a chapter, let's maybe a little bit more today. In a chapter of Bodhisattva, Voice of Discernment, the 8th chapter, these three forms of meditation are taught again, this time in terms of various possibilities of application in conjunction with each other, based on more specific distinctions in the inclinations of meditation practitioners. The three are woven together in intricate combinations that result from all the possible variant orderings of these three practices, yielding 25 formats called wheels, translated in this text as applications. Thus, the Buddha has gone from an explanation of the three general types of inclinations in practice to 25. In chapter 9, the discussion moves away from the explications of methods of meditation back to matters of operation of consciousness, similar to that seen in chapter 5 and 6. As mentioned earlier, the chapter of purifying of all karmic hindrances, bodhisattva, is one of the most difficult chapters in the text to grasp because the subtlety of the distinctions implied in the explanation of the four traces of self, person, sentient beings, and life. 无我相，无众生相，无寿者相，无我相，无人相，无众生相，无寿者相. Four traces of self, person, sentient being, and life. Very interesting. These four traces are also discussed in the Enlightenment Sutra, yes, but with different connotations. Here, each one is explained on one hand as a level of enlightened awareness, but on the other hand, if any one of them is allowed to reify in the consciousness, it will become an impediment to enlightenment. In the final stage of overcoming these four, the destruction of one's conception of ego is compared to the situation of ice melting away in a bath of hot water. I totally agree that the egoic patterns of behavior, thought, memory is the impediment to enlightenment. Therefore, the resolving of the ego is compared to the situation of ice melting away in a bath of hot water. Ice is the water. Egoic pattern of thinking, behavior, and words are the very expressions of the ultimate truth. But for the world's people, they just don't know because they cannot let ego go. The centerpiece of 10th chapter, that of Bodhisattva universal enlightenment in the explanation of the Four Maladies. These are four viewpoints that are normally associated with religious practice and to which practitioners often attach as the way. These are contrivance or notion that one can arrange his life and practice toward attainment of enlightenment. Neutralism, a type of Taoist view of just letting all things be as they are, stopping or cessation, the view that enlightenment is to be attained by single mind concentration and stealing of thought. And the fourth, annihilation. The view that one should attain enlightenment by observing the emptiness of all sins, thereby extinguishing all affliction. The one who is not constrained by any one of these attitudes, but who holds to the correct Buddhist practice for non-abiding and yet consistently demonstrates a highly moral behavior is fit to be a teacher. Again, you see non-abiding. Non-abiding, no sign, no thought. Three no's, three negations of Zen Buddhism. 无念, 无住, 无相. That's all. No abiding, no thinking, and no sign. You just living in a space of emptiness. Emptiness is not denial of experiences or objects, but you can see they are all illusory and don't have self, a true self, a true substance that can call a self. Meaning again, every phenomenal world, every object in the phenomenal world has to dependent on every other things. A tree cannot be a tree if there's no sun, earth, water, minerals in the earth, raindrops, wind, sunlight. All these external factors or all these factors make a tree. A tree cannot exist solely by itself. And this principle applies to everything in the world. A human body, a relationship, a thought, a body sensation. Every phenomenon in the world depends on many factors. It's a dynamic network of coexistence. That's called emptiness. And we should not abide to any object that is any object. We should not abide on any object that which depends on coexistence and is inabidable because it's empty. Okay, the chapter, maybe we finish chapter 12. So, chapter of the Perfect Enlightenment, Bodhisattva, which is 11th chapter of the sutra, finishes up the main body of teaching in this chapter, which is aimed at sentient beings of the age of degenerate Dharma, 末法时代, 末法时期, sentient beings of the age of the degenerate Dharma, of inferior capacity. The Buddha teaches elementary expedients of entry into the three types of meditation for those who are having difficulty getting their practice on track. He advised them to practice long and concentrated confession to help them to overcome the past heavy karma that is currently impeding their practice. Sometimes I found it's really true. One point concentration is a killer of the past heavy karma, but it needs the cooperation of the meditator or practitioner. This chapter also teaches the mechanics of setting up and entering into a meditation retreat, which can be of three lengths: 80, 100, and 120 days. Okay, sounds good. The sutra concludes with the question of most excellent and worthy bodhisattva, who invites the Buddha in enumeration of inconceivable virtues of the sutra, along with listing of the names by which it is to be known. This chapter takes the format common to the final chapters of many Mahayana texts called the dissemination chapter, wherein numerous types of supernatural beings appear to give their guarantees of protection to the text and those people who embrace it and practice it. So we are blessed and we are helped. That's good news. Okay, we're gonna end here today at page of 45. It's not easy. The overview, the contents overview is not easy. Haven't entered the main translation yet. I like it anyway. It's worth of reading in details. So we end here today in page 52. See you tomorrow.